Welcome back to What's Hot New Mexico. My name is Nikayla, and I'm the host of this podcast. Today I have with me fashionista and fashion designer Madison Van Der Lingen, who has created a bunch of different pieces and has also created works that'll be in fashion shows coming up in Albuquerque this summer. If you like this video, please continue to subscribe and watch for more, and we hope this podcast is the right fit for you. Thanks again.
If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all of our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. See the show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading news.
Welcome back to What's Hot New Mexico. My name is Nikayla, and I'm the host of this podcast. Today I have with me a fashion designer by the name of Madison Van Der Lingen. Madison, how you doing?
Good. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So there's been a bunch of fashion stuff going on. We have Met Gala, Kentucky Derby. It's the summer, so everyone's probably switching out their summer wardrobe. But before we get into all of that, what are your fashion designer credentials?
Oh. Well, I think I'm self-proclaimed fashion designer, but some credentials I've recently acquired. I did win a Creative Bravos Award with the city this year. Last year I won Designer of the Year with Denver Fashion Week. And I don't know what other credentials I really have. A BA in costume design.
Hey, honestly, that really works too.
Yeah.
But in short, you love working with clothes. I mean, you have your own pop-up shop with a community of people collaborating. So just give me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have a local sustainable fashion design company here called Mad Van Design. And we have a little new startup business we started called Puff Bug's Closet. It's a designer collective that's in the Century Classic Square Antique Mall. And right now we have 8 designers who sell out of there. We all kind of bounce off each other's aesthetics with sustainability, hyper feminine energy, and just being very cutesy. And so that's kind of just starting up. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we get into anything else, I just want to say I saw those clothes, love them. Me and my friends were all freaking out about them because you had the cutest little sustainable shirt. It was made with recycled fabrics and things like that. So cute. Love it. And you do a lot of things like this, right? Where you're recycling fabrics or finding new uses for this stuff.
Yeah, with Puff Bug, we only bring in designers that work with sustainable secondhand textiles to not add any more additional waste to the fashion industry. Also because our only fabrics or our biggest fabric store, Joann's, is closing. So we want to lean into using recycled textiles and just be more sustainable overall.
Okay, and so jumping into that Joann's thing really quick, for you as a fashion designer, what are you doing now for materials to make stuff? I know we're talking about recycling, but what happens if you don't find recycled material? What are you doing now?
I think the biggest detriment of Joann's closing is notions and tools that we use, like elastic and buttons and zippers and all that. We're kind of being forced to buy that online, or sometimes you can find it at a thrift store, but not exactly the size zipper you need in that moment.
Yeah.
So it is taking away the efficiency of how sewing used to be. But then it's also forcing us to shop more locally. We have Nob Hill Fabrics. We have a few different quilt shops in town that we can utilize. But with fabric, I think working with recycled textiles forces you to be more creative because you're what is this towel? How can I make shorts out of it?
So maybe a little bit easier on the creativity, but maybe not on the efficiency.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. And then jumping into the big fashion thing of the year, Met Gala was recently, not super recent, but a lot of the things that I saw online were that people didn't really understand the theme itself. So the official theme was tailoring in black, but a lot of people were calling it black dandyism. So what is that?
Black dandyism is a really cool concept. Basically, throughout the centuries, it's changed and evolved. I think originally a dandy is someone who has a strong emphasis on aesthetic, what they're wearing, a firm believer in love and a love for clothing. The original dandy we all know is Yankee Doodle, went to town riding on a pony. It was a lot of men, very flamboyantly dressed, usually had a feather in their cap. And then with Black dandyism, I think it emerged after like slave time, and it was just kind of like putting a question on society of like, how can we dress to like shift people's perspectives on like African American people. And we see that with heavy tailoring, and I think it was like a very strong like social movement, but it's heavy tailoring, a lot of detail. And someone was telling me, I don't know how accurate this is, but someone was telling me that like a lot of these tailors, these like Black tailors would take like original African prints and then use these tailoring skills to make these suits that no one has ever seen before. And that's a really cool kind of rebellious take. But I didn't see that in the Met Gala.
I was going to say.
I didn't see color. I didn't see flamboyant. But I saw tailored and structured.
Okay, because you just jumped me right into my next point, which I understood the assignment, I guess. I don't really know if I did until you just clarified it for me, but I know I do now. And I didn't really see anyone in quote-unquote theme for the Met Gala. I saw a lot of plain Black outfits. I saw a lot of basic tailoring. There wasn't really interesting shapes. And we come across this in the Met Gala all the time where people are like, you're a celebrity, you should be able to do a little bit more. But this year in particular felt super flat. I mean, usually I scroll through Twitter and everyone's like, this was hot, this was not, as is the name of the show. But this year it was not anything super exciting. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, there was some. I didn't really pay too much attention to Met Gala last year because with like the political climate, I felt like I was watching the Hunger Games, and I was like, why am I watching
District 12 watching the Capitol?
Yes! Literally, so I was like, not gonna deal with that. This time I leaned into it because I was intrigued by the category. So yeah, I think some people nailed it, and some people, it was just very confusing. And it is a concept that's like up to interpretation a little bit.
These all are.
Yeah. But then you have people that were wearing like a sweatsuit, and I'm like, that does not look dandy.
Or Met Gala.
Or Met Gala. And
yes.
I have a like kind of controversial opinion. I didn't think Zendaya's outfit was that great.
It wasn't.
It was beautiful.
It wasn't.
But that's an Oscar look.
I
that's
agree.
not a Met Gala look. Yeah.
There were a lot of underperformers this year that typically perform. One quick outfit that I want to talk about before we go into this next segment. She is a member of a K-pop group. And she basically had on like
Chanel.
Yeah, and it was like the Harriet Tubman was like printed on.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No.
You know who I'm talking about.
It's from the same group.
Yes. Blackpink, right?
I don't remember her name. Was she wearing Harriet Tubman or Rosa Parks?
Oh, it was Rosa Parks. It was Rosa Parks. And it was like printed on her as like a bodysuit.
Yeah.
Thoughts.
And it was like in a really strange place.
Yes.
Where it's almost like
super inappropriate almost.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, we see where you're going, but it's not fully thought out.
You might have missed the mark a little bit.
Yeah. And there was another girl, I don't know, I'm so bad with celebrity names. But she had like this lace bodysuit on with like a long, like trained do-rag.
Yes, I saw that.
I was like, this is very strange to me.
Yes, definitely like, I think this was one of those themes, and I was nervous about it, like as a Black woman, worrying about the difference between cultural appropriation versus cultural appropriation and appreciation.
Appreciation, yeah.
And I noticed that we have this a lot, especially when it comes to these themes, is that people border on that a lot. Yeah. As a fashion designer for you, do you feel like it's hard sometimes to balance that, or that you see other people struggle with it, or do you think it's a little bit easier than people perceive it to be?
I do think you just have to be very like vigilant and think about what you do. There's been times where maybe like a makeup artist at a show does something that I didn't really like pay attention to fully, and then it goes on the runway, and then I'm like, oh, well, that's not in the best taste. But like, you really have to hyperanalyze yourself, because not everyone will notice those things, but like as a designer, you need to be on top of that.
For sure. And like educate yourself on these things, even if you're not a part of them.
And I think coming from New Mexico, like it's easier for us because we're like so around, like especially like Native culture, because you see that a lot. Not so much recently, thank God, but like when I was first entering this field in New Mexico, there was so many white women in headdresses, like naked in the like bosque, and I'm just like, this is so fried out.
Yeah.
And like through being on social media, hopefully like they got themselves educated, also mass canceled.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just be aware
and then going to another like large event. I don't want to dive too much into this, but Kentucky Derby is one of those things where there's a lot of old school classic outfits, and something I saw online was that people are trying to bring in a modern take to it. And this is something that is maybe a bit more traditional wear. What are your thoughts on almost changing something like this when it is a huge staple of the Kentucky Derby itself? Is like the old school dresses and the large umbrellas and hats. Do you think that you can take it modern, or do you think that's something that needs to stay as is?
I think that the like eye and the public eye on the Kentucky Derby is a lot more intense than it is on the Met Gala. Like people are going to tell you exactly what they did not like about this, whereas the Met Gala is up to interpretation. Some people love this look, some people don't. And with the older generation, they're going to be like, this was so not classy, this was not, I don't know, it's just it's a different world, I believe, because it's for the very rich. And not even just like celebrities, but just like billionaires. And I don't know, it seems very strict. Definitely. It almost seems like if the royal family was here and the rules that they have to abide by, like we kind of have to try to play that game, but we don't really know how to. I don't know.
It's a little balancing act.
I think
sure.
I just don't really know much about it because I'm not of high society.
It's not in my tax bracket, basically.
But I do appreciate a good weird hat.
No, me too. And going into something that might be a little bit more in everybody's tax bracket, mine included, summer's coming up. And so for you as a fashion designer, what are some like world trends that you've seen, and maybe things in New Mexico that are getting more popular, getting less popular? I know everyone's been talking about like big pants, like bell bottoms and things like that. So what are some other trends that you've seen go in or out of style before the summer comes up?
I think Gen Z and Gen Alpha love the like big pants. I mean, it's very flattering, high-waisted, flared pant. But I did see in the Met Gala some people like bringing back a tailored sleek pant, which I was like, interesting. My elder emo is like, when are we bringing back the skin tight? Just kidding. Don't want that.
Don't want the black skinny jeans back.
But I secretly do. But okay. And then, I don't know, I've seen a lot of like ballerina flats over and over again. And then also on the other side, I've seen a lot of like hyper big platforms. So I've seen that. And in New Mexico specifically, I don't know. What have you noticed?
I don't know. I feel like
we're such a mod podge.
Oh, yeah, we are a good mix of everything. I do feel like, at least for my age group, which is young 20s, I'm seeing a lot of the little top, big pant combo that seems to be pretty flattering for everybody, especially when you get it like high-waisted. Big shoes seem to be making a comeback, which is ironic because the ballerina flats are back. For those that don't know, ballerina flats are basically ballerina shoes. They're small, they're tiny, they're flat. But then on the inverse of this, we have like 6-inch docks and like dock, knockoffs and things like that.
Mock Darkins.
Yeah. So that's what I've seen. But what are some trends that maybe people aren't on right now that you hope come back or that you hope come through in the summer? Maybe as a fashion designer, what's something that you think is going to blow up that hasn't yet?
I mean, I've been pushing for a while, like micro shorts where people just essentially wear like a bikini bottom out with like a blazer. But I don't know if New Mexico can handle that risque energy just yet.
It might be a little bit too much.
You might get stabbed.
Yeah.
But what other elements do I like? I think I really hope people catch on to like the corporate goth aesthetic. I think it's really cute. Maybe not for the summer. But summer goth, I think, is so cute. And, like, definitely playing with that is very interesting. I don't know. What other trends are fascinating to me right now?
One quick question I have to ask you about. Have you seen, this is a big thing on TikTok, the what is it called? The corporate baddie or like siren, office siren.
Office siren. Yeah,
Yes.
that's cute. I love that.
Thoughts?
Well, I love the like long pointy shoe with a little kitten heel.
Uh-huh.
It's so like against everything that I like grew up with because I'm the opposite. I'm like the chunky
Me too.
Doc Martin.
Me too.
But I think it looks so cute on some people, and some people know how to style it really well. Also, the little tiny like Y2K glasses that go with that corporate siren are so cute. Yeah, it's very. I don't know if anyone would get this reference, but it's Bayonetta.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's
I know
very
exactly
Bayonetta.
what you're
It's
talking
a
about.
Video
Yes.
game reference. And this is a really funny little like trend that I've been seeing. The Labubu keychains.
What are those? What are Labubus? Because I keep seeing this and I keep hearing it and it's killing me. What are
It's so
Labubus?
funny.
Please educate us.
So basically, I've noticed it first on Facebook Marketplace because that is where I live, is Facebook Marketplace. But they're just these little like monster keychains, and I was seeing them everywhere, and I'm like seeing them, and they're like $50 for this little keychain. And I'm like, what is this phenomenon? But then they like knew how to market to me because I was like, wait, I actually really want one.
It was just for you.
Yeah.
Are these the Gen Z, or like I guess just the new versions in general of Sunny Angels? Is that basically what this is, but as a keychain?
Yeah, I think it's a similar vibe,
Okay.
definitely. Or like just a little trinket for your bag. And I really love seeing that juxtaposition of like a little Labubu on like a designer bag.
Yeah.
'Cause it's so funny. Like just like you know who the baddies are, but they're also like anime girlies.
Yeah,
and, like
very distinct. But I guess for $50, that kind of does go with the designer bag trend because that's an expensive bag accessory.
Yeah, but they're cute. And then like also there's a Lafufu, which is the like I guess knockoff. I don't know. I'm not so deep in that culture yet, but I will be.
But this does seem like a literal brand new trend that popped up. I feel like I just started hearing about Labubus like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I
great
was talking
timing.
about it to my boyfriend, and then I come home and there was one on the kitchen counter, and I'm like, yes.
He knew you wanted a
You're
Labubu.
right.
Your boo got you a Labubu.
Yeah.
And one of the last questions that I have for you that I posed earlier, with What's Hot New Mexico, I'm starting to ask people what's hot and what's not in your own personal life. This can be fashion, your own opinions on things, food. What's been it for you recently, and what's been not super it for you? Like for me, I'll give an example. What's in for me right now is getting cute new work clothes. I am super into work blouses. That's been my thing, getting new dresses for work. And what's out for me, as much as I love chunky shoes, usually the soles are not that good.
Yeah.
And my feet have been hurting recently with these big old shoes. So I'm going to the ballerina flats. That's in for me. And chunky shoes might be making their way out for me. So that's a personal
Dang.
one.
Canceled. Sorry, Mock Darkins.
Sorry.
I don't know if this is fashion related, but I feel like what's hot right now for me is I've waited so long, but finally I've been sucked into K-pop dramas, K-dramas.
Me too.
They are like, they have my heart in a chokehold. They're just like, the one I'm watching right now is very cringe, but I love it so much. Another what's hot would probably be vintage, shopping vintage. We talked briefly about like tariffs, and there's no tariff on vintage, so shopping vintage, shopping sustainably and locally. What is not hot is I have so many opinions on what's not hot, but I'm wondering what I can get away with saying on this show.
Something that's, you know, a little light, but maybe a good summer. What's out for the summer?
Okay. So recently actually not recently, but this year I just quit drinking. So I feel
Congratulations.
I feel like alcohol is kind of out for me.
That's hot. That's what's not hot.
And
Good
I
for
feel
you.
like a lot of people are doing that too with the introduction of like the kava bar that is by UNM, and then we have like the kombucha bar or the tea bar that's Lost Cultures in by Sawmill. So I feel like those are pretty hot for
That's
me.
cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And last little bit, for the people that are watching this, they're probably going to be fashion enthusiasts or hoping to get into fashion. Just name a couple of like local thrift stores, vintage stores, antique stores, or even groups like yours that you want to plug in and let people know that this is a good, sustainable place to be shopping?
Okay, so yeah, we have Puff Bug's Closet. So I work with Clay and Coda. We are a vintage design studio. We have a booth in Antiques and Things called Trevor's Modern Life. It is a furniture and decor, just little pop-up shop, and that is more of our like bohemian style stuff. We are about to open a gallery in Old Town. That is the Clay and Coda studio. That is more like our higher end glass and stuff like that. Thrift stores, I don't know if I want to give up those.
Sometimes it's hard to not gatekeep on fashion stuff because thrifting has been so in that if you say like a good thrift place, then everyone's cleaned it out. I'll actually end this kind of with a personal story. A couple months ago, Buffalo Exchange had like a huge sale. They were doing like dollar racks and things like that.
Oh, for the outlet.
Yes. I knew before I even went that I was not going to get anything. My friends stood in line and they said by the time they'd gotten through the line, the store was cleaned out. So
Dang.
Buffalo Exchange has always been hot. Might be a little bit more hot recently with the pro thrifting, but maybe just one golden ticket place like Savers, super underrated. Go to Savers and thrift, dude. They have great graphic tees. I get the coolest little cargo pants there, so I'm a pro Savers girly.
Yeah, Savers is it, and also Santa Fe Savers is also really insane sometimes.
Ooh, okay.
My favorite. I hope no one goes here, but it's Family Thrift on Wantbo.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah,
I've been there.
It's cash only, so
yeah.
be prepared for that.
And any other advice or things that you want to give people pursuing fashion, trying to change up their fashion, and any last things that I always like to ask people, what's something that you wish people knew about you or your interests, your fashion, your group, your collective?
Yeah. Just like a final like kind of note that I would like to say, we are starting up on Albuquerque Fashion Week. We are doing Night Aquatic in July at Hotel Zaz, and it's the second show in a 4-part series with Albuquerque Fashion Week. So that's going to be our summer show.
That's awesome.
And then that's sponsored by Puff Bug. And I don't know, what else? We're looking for models, designers, volunteers, and media. So sign up on the Instagram page.